Before the world wakes up, before the noise and rush of the day begin, there is a sacred stillness that only the early morning holds. In that quiet moment, just as the first rays of dawn stretch across the horizon, you and I are invited, called even, to come near. Not to check our phones, not to list our to-dos, but to seek the face of God. Right here, right now, in the stillness, we remember what King David once did when he was surrounded by pain. Psalm 86 wasn't born in comfort, it was birthed out of distress. But even then, David dared to approach God, not with polished words or spiritual performance, but with trust. His prayer began with a cry, "Incline your ear, O Lord, and answer me." And maybe this morning, that's the exact posture we need too. A heart that bows low, a soul that knows it cannot stand on its own. What if this day could begin not with striving, but with surrender? What if we laid down the need to prove, to fix, to rush, and instead just ask God to hear us? Let us pause. What's one thing you're carrying that needs surrender today? To see us? That kind of humility is the beginning of healing. And that's where we'll begin today. David continues, "For I am poor and needy." Those words aren't just poetic, they're honest. How often do we try to pretend we have it all together, even before God? But David doesn't mask his weakness. He confesses it. And in doing so, he reminds us of something sacred. We don't need to be strong to be seen by God. In fact, it's in our weakness that he leans in closer. And then David says something deeper still. "Preserve my soul, for I am godly." Not self-righteous, not perfect. The Hebrew word here, hasid, means one who belongs to God by covenant. It's not about how clean your hands are. It's about whose hands you're in. Through Jesus, you and I are in that same covenant. We are his. And because we are his, he will care for us. He will not abandon what belongs to him. Let that sink in. This morning, whatever you're carrying, weariness, anxiety, deep loss, or unspoken pain, you are not alone. You're not forgotten. You belong. And the God who entered into covenant with you through his Son has not broken his promise. So cry out as David did, "Be gracious to me, O Lord, for to you I cry all day long. Gladden the soul of your servant, for to you, O Lord, I lift up my soul." There is nothing too heavy for God, nothing too hidden. When you lift your soul to him, you don't need to have the right words. You just need a willing heart. And as your heart reaches out, he responds with mercy, with joy, even in sorrow. And maybe that's the miracle of this morning. Not that all problems vanish, but that even in the middle of them, we can still have peace. We can still have joy. So let this be your prayer right now. Lord, I belong to you. I am yours. Even in my brokenness, you call me beloved. Restore my soul, refresh my heart. Remind me that my identity is not in my performance, but in your promise. Because his grace doesn't run dry, and his joy is available, not after the storm, but in it. There is something deeply comforting about knowing that God's nature doesn't shift with the seasons or change with our emotions. When everything else in life feels uncertain, when relationships waver, plans fall apart, and the world feels unstable, we anchor ourselves in this unshakable truth. Our God is kind. Our God is forgiving. Our God is overflowing with steadfast love for all who call on him. That's what David declares in Psalm 86, and that's what we hold on to this morning. For you, O Lord, are good and forgiving, abounding in steadfast love to all who call upon you. Not just some, not just the perfect, not just the strong, but all, including you, including me. And that's what grace really is, unmerited, freely given, deeply rooted in the very heart of who God is. Maybe you've struggled to believe that lately. Maybe life has been hard, prayers have gone unanswered, and hope has grown dim. But friend, the character of God is not dependent on how you feel today. His goodness is not a mood. His forgiveness is not a reward for performance. It is who He is. And because of that, we can begin this day with confidence. Not confidence in ourselves, but in the one who goes before us. Yes, before every conversation that makes your stomach turn. Before every meeting that stirs anxiety. Before every quiet moment where fear whispers lies. He is already there, walking ahead of you, making a way, providing strength, protecting your peace. So breathe deeply this morning and let your soul rest in this simple but life-changing truth. God is still good, and He's not going anywhere. There is power in praying with expectation, not because we demand answers, but because we trust the one we're talking to. David's next words ring with confidence. In the day of my trouble, I call upon you, for you answer me. He doesn't say you might or I hope you will. He says, you answer me. What would happen if you approach prayer with that same boldness today? Not as a ritual, not as a last resort, but as a conversation with the living God who listens, who responds, who moves. You don't need to impress Him. You don't need to have eloquent words. Just bring your heart, bring your weariness, bring your fears, bring your dreams. Speak it all. Say it aloud. Whisper it in tears. God hears. Not a single word is wasted. Not a single sigh goes unnoticed. And in a world that worships many gods, money, fame, self-reliance, comfort, we dare to declare with David, there is none like you among the gods, O Lord, nor are there any works like yours. This isn't about arrogance. It's about truth. The God we serve is matchless in glory, in power, in mercy. He alone is God, and He alone is worthy of your worship this morning. So take a moment right now, before you check your phone again, before the world interrupts, and lift up His name. Out loud, even if it's just a whisper. Say, God, you are holy. You are faithful. You are greater than anything I will face today. Let your heart rise in worship, not because life is perfect, but because God is. And as you do, you'll find strength. You'll find peace. You'll find clarity. This is the kind of prayer that changes atmospheres, not because of our words, but because of the one who receives them. So pray boldly, worship fully, and walk into this day with a soul anchored in His love, in a heart that knows, I am never alone. My God hears. My God answers. My God reigns. Sometimes the most powerful prayer is not one that asks for rescue, but one that asks for revelation. In Psalm 86, David doesn't plead for ease or escape. He asks, teach me your way, O Lord, that I may walk in your truth. Unite my heart to fear your name. That's a prayer of spiritual maturity. It's a cry for direction, not detour. It's a request to remain faithful even in the storm, not to avoid the storm altogether. So what would it look like for you to ask God to teach you, not just to bless your plans or remove your problems, but to show you His way right through the middle of your challenges? This is where growth happens. This is where trust is forged. And then there's that second part, unite my heart. Why would David pray that? Because he knew, like many of us, how easily the heart becomes divided. One moment we're devoted, the next we're distracted. One hand lifted in praise, the other clinging to control. One eye fixed on the Savior, the other glancing at the world. David's prayer speaks for all of us. We long to be wholehearted, to live with a single focus, to fear God above all else. But our attention is often scattered, our motives mixed, our loyalty torn between heaven and earth. So today, make this your prayer. Lord, give me a united heart. I don't want to live fractured, double-minded, pulled in different directions. I want to walk in your truth with clarity, with purpose, with unwavering faith. Help me not just to believe, but to be anchored in the busyness of life, in the noise of culture, in the pull of temporary things. Bring my soul back to center. Let me fear your name more than I fear missing out, more than I fear failure, more than I fear the opinions of others. A united heart is a powerful heart. It's a heart that can endure, that can love well, that can worship freely. So pause here and ask, where is your heart divided? What has been stealing your focus? Name it, surrender it, and invite God to bring wholeness to your spirit today. Gratitude is more than a feeling. It's a lens that transforms how we see everything. David says, I give thanks to you, O Lord my God, with my whole heart, and I will glorify your name forever. Not because life was easy, not because enemies had vanished, but because he remembered. He remembered the God who had delivered his soul from the depths of Sheol. When we pause to name the moments God has shown up in our past, it strengthens our courage for the present. Think about that. When was the last time you stopped to recall what God has rescued you from? The pit you thought you'd never climb out of, the heartbreak you thought would never heal, the provision that came just in time, the peace that made no sense. Those moments are not accidents. They're reminders, markers of God's unchanging faithfulness. And they give us the strength to stand when life feels unstable again. Maybe today you're facing opposition, not from enemies with swords, but from anxiety that won't quiet, people who don't understand you, or a temptation that keeps knocking on your door. Bring it all to the Lord. Speak it out. Just like David did, name it in his presence. Not to complain, but to release. Not to wallow, but to surrender. And then shift your focus back to who God is. But you, the anchor for our weary hearts. So whatever today holds, remember this. You are not alone. The same God who delivered you before walks beside you now. His mercy is fresh this morning. His faithfulness is unshaken. And his love, it's deeper than your fear, stronger than your struggle, and more constant than the chaos around you. So give thanks. Speak boldly. Face the day with a spirit of gratitude and a heart anchored in truth, because the one who carried you then will carry you now. There are moments when we don't need new information. We just need to remember what's already true. That's what David did in the final verses of Psalm 86. He didn't try to figure everything out or predict what would happen next. Instead, he anchored himself again in the very words God used to describe himself. But you, O Lord, are a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. These are not just descriptions. They are declarations. They are reminders of who our God has always been and still is today. If your soul is tired this morning, if you're carrying weight you haven't spoken out loud, these truths are for you. God is not impatient with your pain. He is not distant when your hope is fragile. He is merciful. He leans in close. He is gracious. He gives freely what you cannot earn. He is slow to anger. He doesn't react in frustration when you fall. He is abounding in love, more than enough to cover your doubts, your wounds, your regrets. He is faithful, even when you feel unsteady. So today, like David, we don't just meditate, we ask. We ask boldly. We say, Lord, turn to me. Be gracious to me. Give your strength to your servant. Because sometimes strength doesn't look like confidence. It looks like courage to pray when you don't feel strong. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is simply saying, God, I need you. I can't do this alone. And then David asked for something even more specific. Show me a sign of your favor. Not because he needs a show, but because he needs reassurance. Maybe you do too. Maybe you need a reminder, a small whisper, a clear moment that says, God sees you. He's still here. You're not abandoned. So ask him. Ask for his strength in your weakness. Ask for a visible sign, not for your pride, but for your peace. Something that says, yes, my child, I am with you in this. And know this, he delights to respond, because that's who he is, the helper, the comforter, the faithful one who walks beside you into this very day. So as we close this time of prayer, we return to a blessing that has crossed centuries and spoken peace over generations, the blessing of Aaron from number 6, and we speak it over you today. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Let those words wash over you like morning light. You are not stepping into this day alone. You are held, you are seen, you are covered by the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. And if this time together has nourished your spirit, we invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to the channel. Join us each morning as we begin our day with scripture-based prayers and reflections. Because when we start with God, everything changes. May your heart stay anchored. May your spirit be refreshed. And may your day be marked not by anxiety, but by the quiet confidence that comes from walking with the one who is always faithful.